to too much Joe Rogan, dog.
Listen, I don't listen to Joe Rogan as much anymore, but I'll tell you what.
Have you seen him with his shirt off?
Yeah, I mean, Prince James, you understand how ridiculous that sounded, right?
Bro,
how long? What was that? How long ago was that?
That was 2011 when we reconnected, and you know what? I don't care,
that was
bro.
2012.
It was 2011.
It was the year that they canceled it.
All right.
No, wait. Oh, that was the year they canceled it.
Yeah.
That's when he said it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever,
Okay,
dude. I don't even care. I own my Goldust, Uncle Steve. Whatever, man. Joe Rogan's jacked as shit. I used to get... Joe Rogan is just like Post Malone. You know, for so long, people would give me shit for listening to Joe Rogan, and then they all came around. It was like, you know what? He's got a good show. And it's the same thing with Post Malone. They see the face tattoos. They think he sucks. And then they listen to a song, and then they listen to two, and then I get a text message. Oh, you know what? Post Malone ain't that bad.
Yo, I love you, Prince James, but Post Malone sucks. That shit is straight garbage. But I'll tell you what, man, because I can't. I have a hard time like boning on somebody or hating on something without either listening to their music or like reading an interview or watching an interview with them. You know, like I always want to make sure that like there's substance to my word. You know, that if somebody calls me out, I can say, well, X, Y, and Z. And so in my Post Malone journey, shortly after I realized his music sucked, I'm like, man, like, what is this dude about? And I watched like 2 interviews, and dude actually seems kind of cool. Not only does he seem kind of cool, the dude listens to like old punk rock and hardcore music, and I'm like, holy fuck, man. Like, I could see myself hanging out with Post Malone for sure. But I could never see myself listening to his music.
Yo, wait till he puts an acoustic album out, bro. You're going to be changing up your whole story because it's coming.
Oh, no. Now, I saw some acoustic stuff he did, and I'm like, wow, this shit really sucks. Like, I can't get into this shit.
Yo, and just in my defense, let me just say Post Malone is not rap. Post Malone is pop music.
Oh, 100%. But that's the thing, like I don't mind pop music, man. You know, pop music has its place and its time, but like it's not even like I don't know. It's not even like good pop music, man.
See, this is why I love talking to my Uncle Steve, because you always let me know when I disagree. That shit sucks, but you're still my boy. This is why I love having these conversations.
It's funny because when I said it sucked, you told me I was an asshole.
Yeah, but you like Post Malone, so I don't want to hear it, dude.
Yeah, man. Listen, it's important, man. Especially in like these times, like we should be able to talk about things and disagree without being at odds with each other. You know what I mean? Like I should be able to tell you that Post Malone sucks, even though like I really, really want to be like objectively speaking, Post Malone sucks. Like I can't say that, but even if I'm like, hey, you know, I think he's garbage. Like I think it's cool that you could be like, hey, man, I respect that. I still like him. And the same thing with like Joe Rogan the shirtless comment, and it came like out of left field. You know what I mean?
No, you all were shit talking Joe Rogan. I don't even want to hear it. I got to stand up for my man Joe right now.
Yo, listen, man. I'm a believer in Joe Rogan. I think the man should be the arbiter of the people. You know, I think he's right on, man. I think his assessment of himself and his assessment of a lot of things, I agree with a lot of it. I agree with an awful lot of it.
Did you see that there's a petition going around to have him be the moderator for the 2020 debates?
I would love that. I mean, he almost is in a way. He already had Bernie Sanders on. He had Yang on. You know, like he's asking these people the right questions too. And first of all, Democratic debates. And I'm not gonna get into politics. Just talking about the debate. Like, how fucking silly are they? Like, they have an audience. You know what I mean? How silly is that shit? It's fucking ridiculous. I wonder what Joe Rogan thinks about that.
All right, Uncle Steve. Just get back on topic a little bit, I appreciate the Uncle Steve radio show. I really do. But tell people a little background how we met you. I believe we met you at the end of 2005 at Rhino MMA. At the time I met you, I believe you had no ambition to ever go back to school. I believe you might have had like a year or two at OCC. I'm not 100%, but I distinctly remember you having a conversation with someone at the time pretty much saying like school wasn't your thing and you would never go back to school. You know, it was just not on your path. And, you know, then we lost connection along the way. And then because of social media, we were able to reconnect. And when we reconnected, you were, I believe, still doing your undergrad, but, you know, going to school. And, you know, you kind of took that path and got your black belt in education and got your doctorate. Just tell people a little bit about your journey and what made you go back to school and how you went from a guy who was never going to go back to school to a guy who's actually teaching on the college level right now.
Yeah. So you were correct in your memory. There was when we had first linked up, which was the end of 2005 at Rhino. I had absolutely no intention of going back to school, even though I took a few semesters at OCC. And I think a lot of that has to do with, with my maturity at the time, or really anybody's maturity. Somebody that young who doesn't know exactly what they want to do, going to school is such a waste of time and money. Like money is one thing, like you could always get money back, but time is just this linear, non-renewable commodity, and it's just fucked that people waste their time. And that's what I did. I wasted my time and my money, and I'm like, you know what, school's not for me. But really, it's school. It's not that school wasn't for me. It's just that I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. Fast forward to around 2000, whatever the hell it was. I don't even remember. My mom had gotten sick, and my mom died of cancer. And at the time, I was really into exercise, specifically exercise as this kind of like non-pharmacological intervention, right? We could use exercise to prevent disease as opposed to, using exercise to become a better athlete. And I was interested in that, and my mom dying kind of catalyzed this interest in really like the clinical aspects or the application of exercise. So kind of with that, I ended up moving to Connecticut to complete my undergraduate degree, which was in exercise science. And then along the way, I had a professor who was just, he was just like really, really smart. And he always took the time to like talk to me, and I would go down to his office and we would shoot the shit about science, and I loved it. And he really, really made me interested in like the physiology, right? The deep science behind what it is that we're learning. Because exercise science is very broad, right? Exercise science could be, it could be, training, right? Learning how to, like, being a strength and conditioning coach, or it could be, you could be an athletic trainer with an exercise science degree. But I was really interested in like the physiological aspects of exercise science. And this professor, just kind of like, I don't know, he kind of nurtured that. And he would always be like, check this out. And we would have these discussions. And then he went to Springfield College, and suggested that I check out Springfield College's program. I checked out their program. One thing led to another. I got into their program, and then I completed my master's and my PhD there. And it was a very long, arduous journey, but man, I got the best gig in the world. I got the best gig in the world, man. I got the best life in the world. No doubt about it, man. But yeah, that's my journey, man. That is my journey. And if I could give any advice to anybody ever listening to this who thinks that school isn't their thing, maybe it's just that they don't know what they want to do. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be a mechanic, that's cool. But if you don't know what you want to do, you shouldn't say school's not your thing, because school just might be the avenue you need to do what you want to do for the rest of your life and be happy doing it,
So, Doran, how long did that whole journey take you?
Fucking forever. No, man. The journey in its entirety, really. I moved in 2009 and started. No, I moved in 2009, really December 2008. Started at Central Connecticut State University in 2009. And then I finally got my PhD in 2017. So from soup to nuts. I didn't have all that much to do at Central Connecticut. I had taken courses again at Ocean County College. So, a lot of my credits transferred over there, but graduate school took forever. But yeah, it took me like 8 years to do.
Yeah, so
and,
sorry.
What's up?
So throughout that 8 years, that's a long time, almost a decade. Just describe some of the ups and downs and the process of just not worrying about this is going to take this long and just focusing on the task at hand during that semester and not worrying about all the years you had ahead of you.
Yeah, great. That's a great question. I want to tell you that. It was like, I loved every second of it, and I want to tell you that, when times were tough, it came easy because I was super passionate about it, but I'd be lying to you. The reality is, like, I never projected. I was never like, oh, fuck, it's going to take me 6 more years, 4 more years. I was never like that because I was I was inundated with work, and at the end, so I believe it was 2014. The fall of 2014 began my downward spiral. I had about a nervous breakdown then because graduate school, I was woefully unprepared for graduate school. I went from undergraduate being so easy for me. Like I would study an hour and I would understand everything. I would study an hour the day before the exam, and I would ace these like super tough exams. And I always chalked it up to me being like, I love physiology. It came easy to me, and that's why I was doing so well. And then graduate school came, and I just adopted really poor practices, and when I figured they would transfer over, and they didn't. Right? I went from getting A's very easily in undergraduate to getting like B's, working my ass off in graduate school, and then I kind of I got inside my own head, and I felt I wasn't I was just mired with inadequacies that I didn't belong there, and then it just kind of like spiraled down, and then I had to take a year off. So I took an entire year off, and thankfully, a really dear friend of mine was friends with my old professor who was at Central Connecticut, and they talked, and this professor was like, "Hey, tell Steve that I'm going on sabbatical for a semester and ask if he would be interested in teaching some of my classes." So one thing led to another. I took a year off from school, and I taught, and then it was just perfect, right? The opportunity was like serendipitous that this was presented to me at this time, because I ended up teaching and realizing how much I loved it, and that all of this was worth it. And that I just really had to fix myself, I really needed to fix myself, and I just didn't pay any attention to myself or my well-being. So I take a year off. It was great, and then I went back, and there were a lot of downs, man. It was a very undulating experience, emotionally undulating experience. There were a lot of low points. It was very stressful. And I can't say there were any like really super, super high points. Graduate school is graduate school. You do work, you do some research, research is done and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting experience, but the high of the highs, man, was definitely when I was done, because now I have a permit to do whatever I want to do, however I want to do it, within reason, of course. I work for somebody, I work for an institution, but I'm my own boss, because I could teach any class I want to, or I could teach a class however I want to. You know what I mean? But again, to kind of answer your question, like the highs and the lows, there were a lot of lows, man. It's tough, it's stressful. You don't know how you're going to finish everything, complete everything, but you do it. You do it. Graduate school, it teaches you a lot. It's the importance of time management, the importance of your self-well-being, and the importance of tenacity, man. Sometimes you just got to fucking do it. Just put your head down and go. That's it.
And so when you were having these lower points in grad school, was your former professor from Central, was he someone you kind of reached out to and